Okie dokie, YouTubers. This is your guy, Mr. Evaluator. I am back with another video today, and we are talking about another one of Stephen King's fictional characters, well, in the Stephen King universe, called Gan, who is pretty much as specified in the, according to Stephen King, he is another version of the It. Okay, so it's pretty much where he pretty much crossed over with Pennywise himself, and they fought. And there were several and numerous of times. Didn't mean to butcher the word. There were numerous times it has survived. Okay, has survived Gan's attacks. Okay, now specifically, I have not gotten into any of the stories yet dealing with Gan. But as I was explaining, what I am going to explain in this video is Gan's full power. Okay, as according to the Stephen King universe, to the Stephen King himself, Gan is pretty much like Pennywise. Okay, but he's a level beneath him, and I'm going to explain to you why. Okay, so Gan is omnipresent, omnipotent, and literally omniscient. Okay, and in that case, but him being at this scale, he still sits in between the dimensions of the Dark Tower. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've also been reading a little link about how, you know, Gan kind of separated, was somehow attacked or something. I'm not sure, but you know, he created a parallel universe within the, well, not a parallel universe, probably a parallel, well, I'm just gonna say a parallel universe from out the Watchtower, not Watchtower, the Dark Tower. But anyways, I'm gonna get back to the main point. The reason why Gan is not no more powerful than Pennywise is because Pennywise is in the higher form in the Outerverse. Okay, he's at a more higher scale in the Outerverse. So think about it like this: when you look at Pre-Recon Beyonder is the god in his own realm. Okay, in fact, being that he is literally his own Arthur. Okay, and as I was explaining to some YouTubers in the video, that Gan is within the concept of creation, the Stephen King universe. He's not beyond it, he is underneath it. And I'm going to explain how and why. It has nothing to do with what he's capable of doing or what he's not doing. The only type of people that could that phase a challenge to the It is because of true power of raw belief. I had anything about Gan, but I'm just going to get to the point. Okay, the point is that the purpose of a character being omnipotent, omnipresent, or omniscient really doesn't really kind of rectifies where are they scales. Okay, so you could be omnipotent in your scale, and you could scale to the universe. Okay, so your scale could reach the universe. Correct me if I'm wrong at any time. Okay, if you're omnipotent, then your scale of power could possibly reach the galaxy. Okay, could possibly reach the galaxy. And the reason why I say galaxy is probably because that's the strongest you ever get. See, the thing what you guys got to understand is there is actual levels of having omnipotence. Okay, omnipotence really doesn't mean that, okay, you're actually powerful on all scales and all layers. That's the point of having, you know, infinite power. Well, to tell you guys that you got having an unlimited, limitless amount of powers really basically depends on what scale the character is pretty much fighting on. So if Santama has this infinite layers of power, but he's pretty much fighting these demons on a planetary scale, then having that unlimited amount of power, I'm not saying that it has a limit. I'm saying that that scale of infinite power goes to planetary destruction. Okay, it goes to planetary destruction. So until he pretty much starts fighting, solar system, creatures or demons, then that's the power he basically scales to with omnipotence. Now, it doesn't mean that if because you're omnipotent, you're pretty much got infinite layers of power. No, based on the character, whatever scale they have, that's the scale that they go to. Because, like, to me, it doesn't make sense to say I have infinite amount of power and you pretty much, and you're pretty much fighting somebody that's like times your power, okay, times infinity plus, he's fifth dimensional. Oh, actually, no, he's not fifth dimensional. He's a fourth wall breaker, okay, and it kind of really puts it at a unfair advantage. I'm not talking about feats. I'm just talking about the scale of power. So the point of having omnipotent, I mean, the point of being omnipotent, having unlimited power, does not necessarily mean that you have unlimited power in all forms. Okay, and pretty much every scale. Like, it really doesn't mean that. Like, the thing about Gan having omnipotence, his omnipresent, his omniscient is within creation itself. It's within the creation. So if he was going to be beyond creation, then Stephen King would have pretty much explained. Well, I haven't read, but he pretty much would have explained that, Gan himself could pretty much consume ideas, macro versus imaginations, and power itself. So just because somebody is omnipotent, it doesn't mean that their power scales to the idea of omnipotence. Okay, so you probably wonder, Mr. Evaluator, what does it mean to scale to the power of having the ideal of omnipotence? Well, if you scale to the idea of omnipotence, then it doesn't mean that it's infinite. It means that you are at the beginning of omnipotence. You are at the beginning of omnipotence, which basically means that being at the beginning of omnipotence kind of clearly, it didn't mean to kick my own self in the mouth, but it kind of clearly shows you that on every scale you have unlimited power on every scale. But yeah, that's what I was trying to really actually get to. My bad, guys. If you scale to the idea of omnipotence, it clearly puts you outside. It puts you outside creation. If you scale to the idea of omnipotence, omnipresent, it puts you outside of creation. And what do you actually mean by that, Mr. Evaluator? Well, what I mean by that is when you scale to the ideal of omnipotence, it clearly basically says that you are basically the foundation of the entire universe. You are literally on the outside of the outerverse. Okay, you are way beyond on the outside of the outerverse. So if you clearly understand it like this, it's pretty much like, as I explained to some of the YouTubers, that, Pennywise is like on the outer. He's like on the edge of everything. And being on the edge of everything, it kind of really puts him in like he is clearly his own foundation. He's clearly his own foundation. And being his own foundation basically brings Pennywise in his true form of being the ideal of himself. He is the ideal of himself, and like, it can't change. That can't be rewritten. It can't, it can't be erased, because he is clearly the ideal of himself, you know, at the very beginning, man. And like it's pretty awesome. But Gan, on the other hand, is within the concept of creation. He's within the concept of being omnipotent, omnipresent. How could I figure this out? Because one guy in the YouTube comment says that when Gan attacked Pennywise, he was attacked several times and he survived. And he survived Gan's attacks. So that basically goes to show you that Gan is within the ideal of creation. He's within creation. I don't mean that being within creation mean you're inside the Dark Tower. No, you're not inside the Dark Tower. Being within creation basically says, okay, pretty much, if you're omnipotent to whatever scale of power you have. So if you're solar system level, then the scale of omnipotence is pretty much to the entire universe, or pretty much to the entire macroverse. That's basically your scale of power. But Pennywise is his own foundation. He is the ideal of Pennywise. He is the beginning of Pennywise. Okay? And being that is like, he's clearly his own foundation. So he's outside of creation, which basically makes him even far greater than Gan. Gan is within creation, which means that if his attacks, if like Gan is clearly a figment of Pennywise's imagination, okay? Because Gan is like, even though he's on the outside of the watchtower, not the watchtower, even though that Gan is on the outside of the Dark Tower, he still exists within the ideal of the Stephen King universe. So being on the outside of the Dark Tower basically means that you are within creation. When Pennywise goes within creation, right? I'm not even talking about the Dark Tower. When he goes inside the, if he comes from the outside of the Dark Tower, from the outerverse, and steps into the dark side, he's inside the Stephen King universe, inside creation. He's basically stepping inside creation. So where Gan is inside creation. Pennywise is on the outside of creation. And because, Gan is on the outside, he's omnipresent, omnipotent, he pretty much could do anything he wants. But with him attacking Pennywise, and it's not, and that having not any effect on Pennywise, that clearly shows you that, this guy is within creation himself. He's inside creation. Okay, so as powerful as he is, this guy is within the ideal of creation. Because if he was on the outside of it, then those attacks that he's given, the attacks that he's given Pennywise, pretty much would have took him out. Okay, but in this case, Stephen King wants to kind of really keep everything at not a balance, but he kind of really wants to keep everything on a scale. So, you got from the smallest, character to one of the biggest and strongest characters in the Stephen King universe. As I stated in the YouTube comments, that Pennywise is on the outside of the Stephen King universe. Do you know what that means? That means Stephen King, right? Pennywise is on the outside of Stephen King's, of the Stephen King universe. He's on the outside of his imaginations, bro. Like in infinite layers of darkness. That's what it means about Pennywise being on the edge of everything. He's literally on the edge of everything. He's on the edge of your imaginations. He's on the edge of the everything. He's even on the edge of Gan's mind. Clearly, he's on the edge of everything. So that kind of puts him on the outside of the Stephen King's universe's mind. Seriously. While Gan is in the inside of the Stephen King's universe's mind. Because imagine it like this, okay? So let's just say the great Stephen King created this universe. So in this case, the universe that was pretty much made has infinite layers of universes, right? So we call that the whole macroverse. And that macroverse is pretty much is a big vast ocean. But on the outside of that macroverse, on the outside of that macroverse, there's Pennywise. On the outside of the macroverse, right, at the last layer is Gan. Okay, is Gan. And Gan is just on the outside of the Stephen King universe, but he still exists in the mind of the Stephen King's of Stephen King's mind in the universe's mind. But Pennywise is on the edge of his mind. This is why he even explains the writer has to actually write a way to fight Pennywise, because if he doesn't, he'll kill the author. So in this situation, it literally tells you that Pennywise is on the outside of everything, okay? While Gan is on the inside of everything, okay? And pretty much that's what it is. So if you guys have any questions, any comments, don't mean to end the video too soon because my battery is about to die. But if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them below. Now, I'm just going to let you guys know, I may not be correct, okay? If I was not accurate with anything I put on this video, please correct me, okay? Because, like, this was for the sake of people understanding how powerful Gan really is, okay? But, you know, in this section, I will personally say that Gan is, though being as powerful as he is, he's still within the core of creation. So Gan will probably be the core of the Stephen King universe, okay? While Pennywise is on the outside of the Stephen King's universe, being on the edge of everything, at the edge of your mind, at the edge of everything, while Gan is only the core of the entire Stephen King universe. So that kind of really makes Pennywise even more powerful than him, because he is within the ideal of the Stephen King universe. Okay, so he's within creation. He's not outside of creation like Pennywise is. This basically explains that, you know, every time Pennywise tries to come back, he has to take on a form and blah, 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 blah. So, but that's another discussion to talk about. Have any questions, have any comments, hit me up below. If I said anything, please correct me. I got plenty of other videos to upload. So hit me up when you guys get a chance. Peace out.